Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here with the family today on a journey that started 9 months ago. As we started on this journey with all the hopes and dreams of successful completion, to see it culminate today in this procession that came down the hill was quite moving. It has been a long journey for this family, and it really means a lot that you are all here with them today. We want to start this out in the right way. Ask Father Pat Kulix to come forward and say a blessing for us and offer a cedar blessing in a traditional manner that we would do at home.
CM, CIA, Gualapo, Dieshit, Shaksiab, Gui Olquishak. You are the most holy ones. You are the most generous and kind. We thank you for shining your light on us today to help us in our work for our beloved. We thank you for this outpouring of love for our beloved and his family, for their strength and healing. We thank you for this love of the Spirit alive in us as we gather in love and friendship today as one family. And we do ask blessing on our work today. You bless every word, every song, to bless it all with your Spirit of light, to comfort the people. Please be with us today in your kindness and wrap the family in your loving embrace, all your beloved. And we ask these things in Jesus' name, amen. And dear ones, we wanted to have a blessing with cedar and water. For these beautiful boxes of cedar the family has made, they contain items that remind them of our young one's life and the beauty of his life, the strength of his life, and the courage of his life, and the goodness of his life. These will be held by the family to help them in their healing. And we wish them to bless them today. Bless them with every grace, every blessing of peace.
Again, thanking each and every one for their presence here. My name is Glenn Gobin, and I've been asked by the family to be the MC here today. And will do the best that I can to represent their wishes and bring this service to a very successful conclusion. As we start out here this morning, I'm going to ask our tribal chairwoman, Terry Gobin, to come forward and share some words here.
Oh, this is a day. I can feel your pain. Just want to tell you we love you before we get started here. Hattaratu, Shehelo Sidsta, Chohelam Tidbad, Kahalitsa Sidskoy. I introduce myself in our traditional way. Shehelalos is my tribal name. I'm Terry Gobin, the chairwoman of Tulalip tribes. My parents are Stan and Joanne Jones. My father served on council for 44 years, 26 of those as chair before he passed away about a year and a half ago. We're so honored to be here today to honor our fallen officer, Charlie Joe Cortez, who was a proud Tulalip tribal member, but also a descendant of the hereditary chief of the Snohomish tribe, Charles Jules. Charlie was a kind man who always greeted you with a smile. He was so sweet. When I think about Charlie, as a child, I think about all the memories that the family has of him growing up, all of his adventures, and think about how he grew up to be such an honorable young man. He made his family, his ancestors, and his community very proud. Charlie was not only a motocross rider, and that's where he spent a lot of his youth. They were always on the roads, having a blast with the family. We got to see all the pictures through Paula and through Alan. It was such a exciting life for him. But he was an avid hunter and a fisherman, but he was also an awesome father, son, grandson, nephew, cousin, and a friend. Our community is very close. Charlie's father, Alan, is my husband, Billy's cousin. And Paula was my boss for several years. And she was one of the best bosses ever. You could see where Charlie got his teachings from his family. You see the core values that you as parents brought forward through him. Even our mothers, Paula's mother, there you are, and my mother and my parents attended church together for many, many years, and she's going to be right on you after this pandemic to get back into church with her. So I just wanted to let you know ahead of time. As tribal people, part of our healings are we do heal with humor and love for the family. But I had the honor to be there at the family celebration of when Charlie graduated from the police academy, and his parents couldn't have been more prouder of him there. It was an honor to be there to see that. They just were It was such a wonderful event, something that you'll always hold dear to your heart. And when I think about having people in the police force, and I know how proud he made you, I know how that feels because of the excitement and the honor of having them in there. I have 3 of my family members that are members of the Tulalip Police Department. And I also know the fears and concerns of having them become a police officer, from the dangers, for the ultimate risk that they're putting their lives on the line in the line of duty. This tragic accident that took Charlie's life is not only a huge loss to his family, but also to the brothers and the sisters in the police force, but to the entire community. I know the pain of how it is to lose a father and a brother, and it seems that that pain will never go away. However, you have to hold those memories, the laughter and the love that he had for you, close to your heart, and it will ease the pain, and time only heals. But you know, that has left a big void in your family, and what you need to do is make sure that you're holding each and every one close as possible, you know, to help heal together. I want to assure you that Charlie is with our ancestors and our relatives, and he's okay. But I want to thank everybody for being here today, because your presence helps uplift the family and take away a little bit of that pain. Our lives will be forever changed by this incident. Charlie will be missed and remembered as a hero as he was. Our continued love and prayers for the family. My heart goes out to you, and I just want to tell you we love you. Tigwitsi. Thank you.
Our chairwoman will be presenting this Tulalip flag to the family. I want to call up our tribal police chief, Chris Sutter, also Commander Robert Myers, and Sergeant Chris Gobin.
Good afternoon. My name is Chris Sutter. I'm the Tulalip Tribal Chief of Police. And standing with me is Commander Robert Myers and Fish and Wildlife Sergeant Christopher Gobin. We are honored that the family asked us to share a few remarks about Charlie today. The chairwoman and I must have had the same inspiration, because you're going to hear some consistent themes as we talk about our beloved friend, Charlie. To Charlie's two children, Dominic and Peyton, his parents, Alan and Paula, brother Moochie, grandmother Sandra, and all the aunts, uncles, cousins, extended family, and loved ones. On behalf of the men and women of the Tulalip Tribal Police Department, no words can adequately express our sorrow and grief. We do offer our heartfelt condolences and send our support, our love, and prayers that you may receive God's peace and comfort in this time of loss and remembrance. Today we gather to honor the memory, the service, and the ultimate sacrifice of Tulalip Tribal Police Officer, Fish and Wildlife Officer Charlie Joe Cortez. His radio call sign is Ocean 2, so you might see that on some of the articles here. On November 17th, 2020, while responding to a suspected poaching incident during a tribal crab fishery, Officer Cortez and a coworker encountered rapidly changing weather and sea conditions with gale force winds. The sea and the storm caused a large wave to capsize their patrol vessel, and tragically, Charlie was lost at sea. I extend our gratitude and thanks to all the tribal, federal, state, and local agencies that assisted in the search efforts. Tribal fishermen, along with numerous other private boats, also assisted. Helicopters, advanced sonar, private aircraft, drone operators, canine teams, and hundreds of people walking the beaches and tidelands. So many people responded to bring food, support, assistance, and prayers. We thank you all. Many are here today. We truly thank you. Every time our Fish and Wildlife officers go out on patrol, they search. Tribal fishermen and private vessel owners also search. And the beach walkers continue to search. Again, we thank you. Charlie was a kind and loving father. He loved his two children. I recall being at the marina one day with Charlie and some of the other officers when Alan pulled up in his big 4x4 pickup and Dominic jumped out and showed us a nice large trout that he had caught with Grandpa. And then Dominic shared, as though he was sitting around the campfire at hunting camp, how he shot his first buck. I know that was a proud moment for Charlie. Peyton, his little princess, full of life and energy, loving all the princess things little girls love to do. I know she was his pride and joy, and these two beautiful children meant everything to Charlie. Charlie had found his perfect career as a Tulalip Tribal Fish and Wildlife Officer, which allowed him to merge his love for the outdoors, being out on the water, and in our tribal woodlands and game management areas up in the mountains of the Cascades, with serving his tribe and his people. Charlie was an avid and extremely skilled outdoorsman. When he wasn't at work, he was most likely in the woods, often with his best hunting partner, his dad, Alan. For the Cortez family, enjoying the outdoors was a family affair, with Charlie, Alan, and more recently Dominic, with Mom Paula cooking these amazing breakfasts and dinners back at the base camp. The word I would use to describe this wonderful family is love. The Cortez family truly love and support each other. Family was everything to Charlie, and he would often stop by his parents' house for Mom's home cooking or take a short break while at work. The Cortez family's home is filled with memories of being together. Some are on display here today, from motocross events to hunting trips to family birthdays and special events, the family being together was everything. Charlie, as a tribal member, grew up learning and hearing the stories of tribal elders and leaders who fought the battles to uphold and preserve tribal sovereignty and treaty rights. As a Fish and Wildlife officer, he took his duties seriously and understood the higher significance of his work, which was to protect the sovereignty and treaty rights and preserve the way of life for tribal fishermen, hunters, gatherers, and for future generations of tribal members. Charlie always had a smile, as you can see in his photos. Charlie was kind. He was well liked by all. He was always willing to help and give assistance. He gladly accepted assignments and carried out his duties, whether it was tagging abandoned vehicles as part of an environmental cleanup effort or going door to door in a tribal neighborhood to invite residents to an upcoming neighborhood meeting with the police. Charlie gladly performed his duties with a smile on his face and a positive attitude. Charlie develops a special camaraderie with his coworkers. I might add the Fish and Wildlife Division of our department is a very close, tight-knit group of friends and coworkers. Having many shared experiences, responding on calls together, backing each other up, Charlie, along with his fellow coworkers, participated in intertribal cooperative law enforcement joint efforts with our neighboring tribes to protect the fisheries. Many are here today, and we thank you. Charlie and our Fish and Wildlife officers fostered a positive working relationship with the other tribal Fish and Wildlife officers, which is so important for successful management of the resources. On one warm summer day, Charlie and Fish and Wildlife officers Bo Jess, his lifelong friend and brother, and Officer Ron Perry, and a few of us went out on one of their many woodland patrol checks for illegal campsites, which caused severe damage to the tribal forest and sensitive, fragile environmental areas, to include fish-bearing streams. I recall this trek as a 5-mile hike through blackberry bushes, over logs, and overgrown trails. On that day, we were led by Commander Robert Myers and Sam Davis, our Public Works Director. For me, it was like keeping up with 2 mountain goats. After checking out the waterfront and then working our way under the bridges on Marine Drive, we turned up the Quill and started into the woods on the east side of 27th Avenue. As we checked for illegal camps, we walked the trails toward the Quilceda Creek. As we were walking, a big black Labrador dog came out and gave us a half-hearted couple woof woofs. And Charlie yelled, "Max, go home." I didn't know at that time, but we were in the backyard of the Cortez family property. And the Fish and Wildlife officers also do animal control. And so the officers razzed Charlie about having a dog off leash. But Max was just protecting his home. It was a happy memory. We all laughed, and we continued on our journey, hiking those trails. Although, we actually hiked all the way to the north of the parkway in Quilceda Village, so it was a good jaunt that day. It just about killed me. So, although many years apart, Sam and Charlie had spent their youth exploring and playing in those woods and fishing for sea-run cutthroat trout in the creek next to their homes. I learned that these patrols meant much more than catching and removing illegal trespassers. I developed a greater understanding of the appreciation for the sense of mission to protect their tribal ancestral homeland. Recently, just last week, Paul and Alan took me on a tour of their property. They showed me Charlie's practice motocross track that Dominic now enjoys riding on. They showed me where Charlie played as a boy in the woods and fished in the creek next to their home. They shared that Charlie is a descendant of the hereditary chief of the Snohomish tribe, Chief Charles Jules, who Charlie was named after, Alan pointed out some old fruit trees that have now gone wild, which Charles Jules, or Chief Jules, planted along with where he had his hops vines. These personal insights helped me better understand why Charlie was so proud to be a Fish and Wildlife officer. In these difficult times, I firmly believe that law enforcement remains a noble calling and a necessary foundation for a peaceful, orderly society. The Bible tells us, "Blessed are the peacemakers." Charlie was a peacemaker. He served with honor and will never be forgotten. Ocean 2 is now with Chief Jules and his departed loved ones on the other side. God be with you until we meet again.
Hi, I could tell you about our co-worker, our brother, our friend. Family was always number one. Family and kids were number one to Charlie. I would say hunting was probably number two to Charlie, and job was probably number three. But as a co-worker and friend, he was a good worker. He cared about everybody. He never had a mean thing to say about anybody. He always had a smile on his face, and he was always willing to help anybody. We have a pretty good group at Fish and Wildlife, and we're all not just co-workers, we're friends. They always do things together, golf, hunting. So Charlie was an avid hunter for sure. I'll miss my coworker, I'll miss my brother, and I'll miss my friend. I will never forget him. We'll keep him in our hearts and we'll keep him in our memories. Thank you.
I'll try and say a few words about Charlie. So I'd watched Charlie as a young kid grow up, and I always seen him out in the woods while we were hunting and talked to him constantly about becoming a Fish and Wildlife officer. And I thought that he would be a great fit with his love for the outdoors and the teachings that come from his family to help his people. And Charlie, he stumbled a little bit at the beginning of his career, but there was one night we were in the office doing some reports, and a call comes over the radio, and Charlie jumped up without hesitation. "Come on, Sarge, let's go. And it was that time I knew he would be a great officer. He started to put the passion that he put in towards motocross hunting, he started to get that same passion towards police work. And I'm going to miss my friend dearly. His smile every time you walked in the office, and that look he gave you, and just, what? So I'm sorry I can't say more. I'm getting a little choked up, but I'll miss my brother, and I'll miss my coworker.
Like I said earlier, nobody thought we'd be at this point when we got that call. We had a boat tip over and people in the water. And the call went out, many people answered. Many of our local sister tribes, local law enforcement agency, fire departments, Navy, Coast Guard. There was quite the effort put out there. And our tribal fishermen that came out. And they came out in weather conditions that they normally would have went in or not went out for. They would have stayed tied up at the dock. When the call came out, they freely went out into the storm to search in the hopes of a different conclusion. Many stayed out there 24 to 36 hours straight searching, only to go home and take a nap and continue on. For weeks, that took place. When I think about the changes that I've seen just in my lifetime and the differences of where we are today, there was a time when if there was a call that came from the reservation, that there may not be a response, or it may take hours. But to see how far we've come by that outpouring of the other agencies that stepped forward, the other municipalities, it really felt good to see that, to see the changes. I think about watching Alan and Paula as they grew up and when they got together. And if you understand some of the challenges that we have had to face from either personally or from our parents or grandparents after treaty times, there always wasn't a lot of opportunity. Jobs were not available, opportunities were not created, and a lot of our people, they made a living off the land, fishing, and what we called cutting shake boards. It was after somebody else came in and logged the property, there'd be the old windfalls or the deadfall or the stumps. And as a kid, I recall going out with my father and my grandfather, packing shake boards out of the woods. But it was the way our families tried to provide, because they had a value that they wanted something better for their children. And I say that because as I watched Alan and Paula, first with Moochie, and then with Charlie, and I lived kind of across the street, so they'd have to come out onto 27th Avenue, and I lived on the corner of 27th Avenue on the other side of the road. And I was telling them it was interesting to watch, just from a side perspective sometimes, life's journey. So as the kids started to grow and start to take part with Alan's activities, they'd be out, and Alan would have his truck. They'd be out going fishing or something. You'd see a boat in the back of the truck. And as Charlie got older, you'd see motorcycles in back of the truck. It'd be a newer truck. And as they continued to mature, you saw this evolution, and I watched how the family supported each other, how they did things as a family, how they created more opportunity, created things and provided for their children that they didn't have. You saw that truck with the motorcycles, and pretty soon it was a truck with a trailer. Maybe it was the same truck. And then you saw a new truck with a newer truck with the trailer. And then pretty soon you see it with an enclosed trailer. And now you see Cortez racing on the side of the trailer. You saw the truck change to an older motorhome, towing that trailer, to a newer motorhome. But always as a family, they did things together, creating that opportunity for their children, creating what we call that opportunity for the next generations to be able to pass on again to the next generation of that value to make your lives better. And all through that was the ever-present smile, sometimes smirk on Charlie's face. You see it in all the pictures. You see it in the pride that he had. Never boastful. I mean, he might boast with his friends that he beat them or something, but it wasn't out in the world that he was the best at this, or he could do this, or he could do that. And so when Charlie went through, graduated school and worked some jobs with the tribe, but when he decided to become a law enforcement officer and go to the academy, it almost kind of shocked me. I thought, well, great, but man, he's going to be out there patrolling in the woods, policing as hunters and that. But then it kind of dawned on me. It put him out in the woods where he'd know where the animals were if he was out there patrolling and that. So he'd have some inside information on that. But as we watched Charlie grow, we knew the honesty, we knew the integrity that he had, and what he was going to bring to this department to continue to bolster it in a good way was going to be good. He was going to hold people accountable, do his job, but yet still be a member of the community and know how to walk that line to be that true police officer that earns support because of how you carry yourself, that earns respect because I can do my job, but I can still be one of you. I can still understand. I can make decisions on how I'm going to handle situations that protects my community while still supports my community. And as a tribal leader, I looked at Charlie as great hope. Because as a tribal leader, we look for those next generations to step forward, to stand up and do these type things, to stand up and lead their people, to stand up and make the next generation's lives better. So it was really hard this past 9 months for the family, for our community, and for the family, it felt like unfinished work. We need to conclude here, but I can't do it yet. You're left with this feeling of an obligation of unfinished work that you have to do. So, when we started this journey 9 months ago, no one thought we'd be ending with that procession coming down that hill. Nobody thought that that journey as we started out that day was going to end there. And it's been a long time coming. But it felt so good and so honorable and so deserving to watch and witness what took place. And I know for the family, I can't say enough about those agencies that step forward in the time of need, the different departments that step forward in the time of need, the different community members that step forward in the time of need, but have continued to be there throughout this process. To the behind the badge folks, I'll have to apologize. Until Charlie's passing, I never heard of you. And I know why, is because you walk silently behind the scenes to support families of fallen officers. not attracting attention to yourself, but doing the work to support the families and help them through these processes. It has meant so much, and those closely involved, I know, have become members of the family. And it meant so much to have that strength through this, that guidance, even though nobody knew what the path was, because it has taken so long. Our people, our elders tell us, you need to know who you are, and you need to know where you come from. And some people might say, well, what does that mean? For us, as Native people, it's our ancestry and our teachings, our cultural teachings, that have been handed down through time. Not on a piece of paper, but through an oral tradition of sharing stories. When you heard our chairwoman talk about Chief Charlie Jules, many of you have heard of Hebold, Legion Park in Everett. It was the main village of what people say today, the Snohomish. But in our language, it's Stohobsh. So many of our names that we carry today, although our ancestors had traditional names, but when the government came in and they took a census, they couldn't pronounce them, so they changed them. Charlie Jules' grandfather was the chief at Hebold. And some may say, well, that's a long time ago. But I can swear that and attest that many of you would be absolutely proud to say, I'm related to George Washington. I come from descendants of Abraham Lincoln. And wear that proudly. For us, it's no different to know where you come from. Shahemkan was the chief at Hebold. Shinumkan was Charlie Jules' Indian name. His parents died early. Father Charus, who was the first Catholic priest that came to Tulalip, took Charlie Jules under his wing and renamed him after a French saint. And that's where that name comes from. So Charlie's descendant comes down through Paula's side of the family. Charlie Jules had 15 children, and only one of them outlived Charlie. The rest died early of tuberculosis. And just an example of the things our people dealt with at those times, of the diseases that would come, and we had no immunity. One of Charlie Jules' daughters was named Stephanie Jules. She married a Joseph James, and together they had Lillian. Lillian married William Grenier. And from William and Lillian came Richard, Paula's father. And together, Paula and Alan had Charlie. But on Alan's side of the family, it goes back as well. So we knew that He come from Chief Charlie Jules, but he also has lineage back to Labshilted, way back. Labshilted's name, after they couldn't pronounce it, was written down as Club Shelton. So, through Club Shelton comes a descendant named Mary Shelton. Mary Shelton had a daughter named Isabel. Isabel married Hank Gobin Sr. From them came Alan's mom, Shirley. And the bloodline comes that way. But the family tree extends even farther. And I encourage the family to research, to look at it and see how broad it spreads out. It's understanding who you are and where you come from. So again, to be here today, standing in front of you, honoring Charlie and how he lived, honoring the family and supporting them in how they've carried through these past 9 months, and recognizing the strength that each and every one of you bring to them today, to give him the honors of a fallen officer. I know they say thank you, but even saying thank you isn't enough for what it means to them. As we continue on here today, we're going to have a video presentation. And following the video presentation, we're going to have the eulogy read by Margie Santabanez.
He's a phone call to his parents. He's a Bible by the bed. He's the t-shirt that I'm wearing. He's the song stuck in my head. He's solid and he's steady like the Allegheny runs. He knows just where he's going and he's proud of where he's from. One of the good ones. He's one of the good ones. Nobody does it better, all the way he pulls me in. I've known a couple bad ones, but they all led me to him. He's one of the good ones. Love me like he should, one like he wrote the book, one. The kind you find when you don't even look, one. Anybody can be good ones, but he's good all the the kind you find when you don't even look. Anybody can be good once, but he's good all the time. He's one of the good ones, and he's on mine. He's one of the good ones, and he's on mine.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. If I can make a living from walking in the woods, you can bet I'd be sitting pretty good high on a hill, looking at a field downwind. If I can make a nickel off of turning in bass, never worry about the price of gas, I've been wheeling and dealing and sitting there reeling them in. Hunting, fishing, loving every day, that's the prayer that a country boy prays. Thank God he made me this way. Hunting and fishing and loving every day. Early in the morning, late in the evening, I'm getting red dirt rich and Flint River paid. Hunting, fishing, loving every day. I get a little farm pond buzz, sound of gravel when I'm backing up, pulling the string on a 9.92 stroke. Murphy, I love it when my baby wants to roll with me, throws her boots on, climbs in a tree, tucking her hair in my hat and she's ready to go. And we get to hunting, fishing, loving every day, that's the prayer that a country boy prays. Thank God he made me this way. Hunting and fishing and loving every day. Early in the morning, late in the evening, I'm getting red dirt rich and Flint River paid. Hunting and fishing and loving every day. While y'all are up there, breathing in that old dirty air, I'll be down here, knee deep in the muck of leaf. Hunting and fishing, loving every day. I want to see them tall pines sway. Y'all close them eyes, let's go there in our mind. Hunting and fishing and loving every day, that's the prayer this country boy prays. Thank God he made me this way. Hunting and fishing and loving every day. Black coffee in the morning, dark whiskey in the evening, I get red dirt rich and Flint River paid. Hunting and fishing and loving every day. Woo! Come on. Won't you come along with me? Won't you come along with me? I know you want to see. Hunting and fishing and loving every day. birds fly, and the dreams that you dream of, dreams really do come true. Ooh, someday you wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind. Be where trouble melts like lemon drops, high above the chimney top. That's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow. Bluebirds fly, and the dream that you dare to, oh why can't well, I see trees of green and red roses too. I watch them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Well, I see skies of blue and I see clouds of white and the brightness of day. I like the dark and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, singing, how do you do? They really say, I love you. I hear babies cry and I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than we'll know, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Someday I wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind. Be where trouble melts like a lemon drops, high above the chimney top. That's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. And the dream that you dare to, why, oh why can't
Good afternoon. My name is Margie Santibanez. I am the daughter of Pete and Sherry Guzman, and I'm honored to read the words from Alan and Paula Cortez. It saddens us all to announce that our son, Charlie Joe Cortez, 29, died tragically on November 17, 2020, while on patrol in the waters near Hat Island and Jetty Island. Charlie's patrol boat capsized after being struck by a wave during gale warning weather conditions. Charlie was working for the Tulalip Police Department as a fish and wildlife search and rescue officer when the accident occurred that left him lost at sea. Tulalip was Charlie's home, where he was born and where he grew up. Charlie worked tirelessly and gave it his all every day, and when answering his final call of duty as the officer for Tulalip. Charlie has many passions during his lifetime. Everything he did with passion and determination to be successful. As a child, he grew up with the motocross community. He loved racing and seeing his friends during our countless travels to various tracks in the Pacific Northwest. He was an accomplished motocross racer, achieving numerous trophies and championship standings when racing various motocross events. Later, Charlie's passion turned to hunting. Ask anyone who hunted with him, and they will tell you hunting season was what he talked about the most. He was successful as a hunter in the community and was requested many times as a designated hunter for ceremonial hunting, or as needed for members of the tribe who requested a designated hunter. During hunting season, Charlie was always just a phone call away for any hunter who needed help packing or loading their game. Charlie also ventured into commercial diving for geoduck. He trained endlessly to enable himself to be proficient with his crate numbers as a diver. He would joke around at times with other divers when they would return to the marina knowing he had one of the highest crate counts for the day. Charlie loved spending time in the mountains, in the woods, in the water, and with his friends. But most of all, he loved spending time with his family and his precious children, who were his pride and joy. Dominic Cortez, his little mini-me, is the hunter and fisher, and Peyton Cortez, his little princess, who is not afraid of snakes and touching worms. Charlie loves spending time with the family during every holiday, birthday, picnics, and barbecues. He never missed a gathering with his family. Charlie was born on May 28, 1991, in Everett, Washington. He was a proud descendant of Charles Jews, hereditary chief of the Snohomish tribe. He was a member of the Tulalip tribes. He was the son of Alan K. Cortez and Paula A. Cortez, and resided all his life in the Tulalip community. He was employed with the Tulalip tribes for 12 years and worked in departments such as wildlife enhancement, the Tulalip Marina, and his final position was a police officer with the Tulalip Tribes Department Fish and Wildlife Search and Rescue Division. He was a graduate of Marysville-Pilchuck High School and furthered his studies by attending and graduating from the United States Indian Police Academy with the cadet class of 168 on May 3, 2019, with top honors in the driver training courses. Charlie will be missed every day by his parents, Ellen and Paula Cortez, son Dominic, daughter Peyton Cortez, his big brother, Richard Muji Grenier Cortez, grandmother Sandra Grenier, aunties Terry Nelson, Vicki Jablonski, Rhonda Olson, and Ronnie Lyons, Uncle John Cortez, Wayne Cortez, Rick Lyons, and Randy Lyons, his grandfather Alvin Lyons, his cousins Kayla Schreiber and spouse Brandon, Casey Woods and her partner Andrew, Caleb Woods and Cassandra Grenier, his former spouse and mother to his beloved children, Tanya Stout and her spouse Chris, and Tanya's special sister Carrie Beggerly. Charlie will also be missed daily by his special lifelong friends, Bo Jess, and his special hunting buddies, Tino Villaluz, Brady Johnson, and Zach Parks, his brothers in blue with the Tulalip Police Department, and all of his hunting and fishing buddies. Charlie was preceded in death by his grandfather, Sapa Richard J. Grenier, Uncle Ed Nelson, Uncle Bill Grenier, grandmother Beverly Lyons, and Shirley Gobin Zacchius, and great-grandma Ann Reft. Today, August 17th, 2021, we are celebrating the life of a son, grandson, father, nephew, brother, and friend, Charlie Joe Cortez. And I'd just like to say yes Charlie Joe Cortez as good as everyone says he is.
I have the honor of asking Lieutenant Governor Denny Heck to come forward, share some words, and also a flag presentation.
Thank you, Glenn. On behalf of Governor Inslee and myself, I offer our deepest condolences to Officer Cortez's family, to Alan and Paula, Brother Mucci, Dominic, somewhere, and Peyton, grandmother, aunties, uncles, cousins, to all his family members, to all his friends, to his fellow tribal members and community. Indeed, I'm here today to offer sympathies on behalf of the entire state, for truly has it never been better said, a loss in the line of duty is a loss to everyone throughout all our state. Our state is only as strong as its front line, and Charlie made our state very strong. Few of us will ever know the full weight that comes with being an officer of the law and a frontline responder. That responsibility to look into the face of fear and the unknown, and yet to persevere. To answer that extraordinary call to duty that is defined as putting others before self, even if it means the ultimate sacrifice. But that is the kind of officer Charlie was. Unquestionably answering that call of distress of the other boat that evening last November. He pursued law enforcement and his position with the Tulalip Police Department as a Fish and Wildlife Search and Rescue Officer with the same passion and love as he did his family, his community, his hunting, his diving, his motocross. To all the police officers and emergency personnel present who are also called upon to stare down adversity, we offer you not only our gratitude, but our daily prayers. I note that Charlie was born on May 28th, a birthday he shared with my older brother. Ironically, both of them gave their last full measure of devotion and service. So I can attest that Charlie's memory will be kept by those who knew him, by those who loved him, and even by some of those who did not. It is Officer Cortez end of watch and Racer Charlie's checkered flag. Those who knew him, and all of us who benefited from his sense of duty are filled with gratitude.
family has asked if Andrew Goldman would come forward and share a song titled Go Rest High on That Mountain. After Andrew, I'm going to ask Casey Woods to come forward and share the words she has on her heart as well.
I know your life on earth was troubled, and only you could know the pain. You weren't afraid to face the devil. You're no stranger to the rain. Go rest high on that mountain, son. Your work on earth is done. Go to heaven shouting love for the Father and the Son. Oh, how we cried the day you left us, gathered round your grave to grieve. I wish I could see the angels' faces when they hear your sweet voice sing. Go rest high on that mountain, son. Your work on earth is done. Go to heaven shouting love for the Father and the Son. Love for the Father and the Son.
Hi, my name is Casey. Charlie is my cousin. I wanted to thank you all for being here today. It means a great deal to our family that we're finally able to have a service to honor our Charlie. Though we were never expecting this type of tragedy to happen, especially to him. Today I wrote a letter to Charlie. Charlie, you give me strength. I was so hopeful in the beginning. I was so hopeful. I miss you, Charlie. I've tried to make the most meaning of your absence, a constant battle in my mind of denial and acceptance. I just couldn't believe someone as good as you could be taken from us. someone who for the most part kept to himself, was always safe and always good, never out inflicting pain on others, quite the opposite. And all of us here gathered today got the very sweetest gift, your presence. The genuine, down-to-earth, easygoing jokester you are. How lucky are we that we had you in the first place. Looking back, you truly are life's greatest gift. You can't buy that genuine love and friendship. Then I realized that is what life is all about. But how so cruel to be ripped from our arms suddenly and helplessly. I miss you so much, Charlie. We were never prepared for this abrupt change without you. I no longer look for you in everything I do because I know you're always with me, with the family. And a part of me will always be sad, truly sad, because you weren't here for my biggest accomplishment and milestone in life, becoming a mom. And that alone breaks my heart over and over again. But I know your spirit is alive and well in all our hearts. It makes me cherish our bond that much more. I will never get to have that back at my physical demands, matched or replaced. Charlie, you truly are one of a kind, and that is the hardest part, to go on without you. How unfair. Someone who's been there since my very first breath. I know you're still here in our hearts, and one day I will look back on this moment knowing it was only temporary. And the joy of having eternity with you at our family line with every person we've ever loved and lost gives me my hope back. I look forward to that because our love is vast and infinite, just like the stars and galaxies, never unwavering. So this is for you, Charlie, to continue my days honoring our time together. I love you, and I miss you so much, more and more since the day you disappeared. Thank you, everyone, for being here today.
Because he lives, I can face tomorrow. Because he lives, all fear is gone. Because I know he holds my future, and life is worth the living just because he lives. Because he lives, I can face tomorrow. Because he lives, all fear is gone. Because I know he holds my future, and life is worth the living just because he lives. God sent his son, they called him Jesus. He came to love, heal, and forgive. He lived and died to buy my pardon. An empty grave is there to prove my Savior lives. Because he lives, How sweet to hold a newborn baby and feel the pride and joy he gives. But greater still, that calm assurance this child can face uncertain days because he lives. And then one day I'll cross the river, I'll fight life's final war with pain. And then as death gives way to victory, I'll see the lights of glory and I'll know he reigns. Because he lives, I can face tomorrow. Because he lives, all fear is gone. Because I know he holds my future, and life is worth a living just because he lives. And life is worth the living just because he lives.
Family members identified to come forward and bring forward this song. But I'm going to ask that it not be recorded in any way, that this is personal for the family, and we hope not broadcast on Facebook or anywhere else. It's personal, it belongs to them. This song actually belonged to Charlie Jules. And this was his song, and we were told they used it at events like this, or to start or close meetings with it. As you all know, we never did recover Charlie. And some may wonder what we have in the box here. The box is, the family has placed mementos, things of importance to them, things that were important to Charlie, photographs, in a way to continue to pass down his memories. So the family at various times, if they want to, they can open the box and they can go through and they can talk about the items in there with Charlie's children, with Charlie's grandchildren when they come, other family members. And I encourage each and every one of us to not be afraid to talk about Charlie. Don't hold back. Share the memories. Share the stories. Share the feelings. Charlie's life was not about the end. It was everything up to it. And that's what we carry within us. That's what gives us strength to continue on. And that's what keeps his memories alive. A little history of the box. My father had passed away about 12 years ago. He was an avid carver. And these are not just any box, they're bent wood cedar boxes. So there's only one joint where the two come together. It's wrapped around and cut in a certain way and steamed, and it's bent and put together. Before my father passed, he made most of this box. And after my father passed, my brother took it and he finished it. And he kept it under cover, and it's been sitting there. We didn't know he had finished it. We knew he had it. We thought it was sitting somewhere unfinished. So Ella and Paula had the idea to get a box to place items in. And I told them I had one that was given back to me that my father had made, and it was a fairly large one. And I showed it to them. We thought it would work. And I said, well, let me give my brother a call and see what it would take to make one special for this event, and see what it would take if there was enough time to do that. I called my brother Joe, and he says, you know, I got that one that Dad hadn't finished, and I finished it. And he says, I finished it, and it's just been sitting here finished, and I didn't know what to do with it. And he says, maybe this is why I've saved it this long. And so the family saw it, they liked it. My nephew Jason, he put the designs on there, and here it is today. We pray that it gives you that strength to use those memories in a good way, to always bring his spirit forward, his laughter, his love, his enjoyment of life. I'm going to ask Father Pat to come up and do the benediction, and then Father Pat's going to take the blanket off the top and give it to Paula. Under normal circumstances, we view the one, if this was a normal procession and we had an actual casket here, the casket would be covered with a blanket, and the one closest, the one left closest, that had been with him all the way through the process to the end, would always have special meaning. And the family would decide where that goes or who gets it. So this is representative of that, as this 9-month-long process, and we're here in this blanket, covering these mementos that have been placed in it. With all the love, the blanket will be given to Paula.
Before I say the prayer, I wanted to thank Teacher Siam. Our speakers are so important to us. We can't go through ceremonies without having a strong speaker to guide us and encourage us and keep us on line. Teacher, speaker for his people all the time. I'm so grateful for his work today, and I know we all are. Siam. Let us pray. Oh, Shaksiyam, how can we thank you enough for all the help you gave us today to do this work together for our beloved. His most honorable Father, His most honorable. He led a life of generosity and love. He was given much love, and he shared so much love. So today, we feel this love here among us. It is your Spirit, alive in him and alive in us. And we do ask blessing today for the family. We ask a road of light for them, a healing road, a road of light and peace. And for all the families here today, we ask great blessing today. Blessing on all the homes represented here and all the families. We ask a blessing road for you all, and for all of us. We seek to continue together in the spirit of love and friendship that we have been shown by our beloved. Let us continue to walk together in the light. Ebush al-Tilakshad. Let us walk in the light. And we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Tulalip Ocean 2. Tulalip Ocean 2. Ocean 2, out of service, gone after all.
Sir, color guard, repulsing. Permission to retire the colors. Retrieve the colors! Head! Forward, fire!
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. The audience is invited to observe the family departure, which will occur in just a few moments outside the main arena. The Cortez family is very grateful for your attendance today in honoring Charlie. In thanks, they wish to extend an open invitation to join them at the Tulalip Resort Casino in the Orca Ballroom at about 4:45 to break bread with them and participate in various presentations. Thank you for your attendance.